Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. In today's video, I am going to explain what variables and data types are. This is the second video in the Python programming and fun series. So I want you to open your PyDroid app. If you don't know where to get it, click the link in the description below. In that video, I talked about how to download and set it up. So for this video, since we're just starting afresh, I want you to go to your file manager and I want you to create a new folder and name it Python. When you've done that, come back to your PyDroid 3. Now, let's save this file. Hit this icon and click on Save As. And I want you to navigate to where the Python folder is. When you see it, open it. Then I want you to click Select Folder. Then save it as variable.py. Since we're talking about variables in this video. Variables.py. Done. And hit Save. So when you've done that, you'll be able to see that the name has changed from new to variables.py. So let's begin. What are variables? Variables are reserved memory locations where values are stored. Now, let's create our first variable. We're just going to say num is equal to 1. Now, what does this mean? What we're trying to say is that, okay, we've created a variable and we've named it num. So this num has become a reserved storage location for the value that we equated it to, which is 1. So if anywhere in your code later you want to reference this particular value, which is 1, you can reference this one by using the variable, which is num. So if we come down and we say print num, sorry, not that, we'll say print num. If we press this play button here, we can see 1 is printed. So what does this print function do anyway? This print function is used anytime you want to output something to your terminal. So that is when the print function is used. So I also want to talk about variable naming and how to name your variables wisely. So anytime you want to create a variable, it is best practice to create a variable that is I would say sensible and something that is easily understandable. So let's say you've written some code and you wrote and the variables you used were poorly named. If you come back some months later to that same code, or if somebody else is working on that same code, he or she might not understand because the variables were not well descriptive. So anytime you're creating a new variable, it is advisable that you should create something that is sensible and something that fits what that variable is supposed to do. So and also when you're creating variables, if you want to separate variables, you don't separate it by using space. Like let's say you want to create a variable and name it a boy. We don't say a boy. That is wrong. Python is going to throw an error because it's I think it's going to see it as like 2 variables. So what we need to do is we need to say a underscore boy. We can do it this way, or we can also say we do it like this, a boy, or we can say a boy, however you want it to be. But it's mostly for me, it's best practice to separate your variables so that they can be readable. So it's just better to leave it as a underscore boy. So now that we've talked about variables and variable naming, we're going to talk about data types. So what exactly are data types in Python? Data types basically are the different formats in which data is represented. So we have about 5 in Python. We have the integer, we have the string, we have the dictionary, we have the list, and we have the tuple. So what if we want to ask Python what exactly is the data type of this num variable here, Obviously, we know that the type is a number, which is an integer. But let's tell Python to tell us what the value is. So what we're going to say is that we are going to create a new variable and we are going to name it data underscore type. And we are going to equate that to something. I'm going to explain what it is. We're going to say data underscore type is equal to type, and inside parentheses would pass in num. So what we're telling Python here is that we're saying we should go to that num variable, access the value, and tell us what kind of data type the value is. So we're now going to tell Python that, okay, after you've done that, I want you to print this. So we're going to say print data type. Now, another thing about this print function is that you can decide to print out the value of a variable by passing in the variable into the parentheses. Or if you want to print out a string, you can decide to pass in the string into it. Now I'm going to explain what a string is. But first of all, let us just run this code. Click this play button here, and we can see the class is an integer. So that is how to check for the kind of data type that a variable is carrying. Also, if you change this to word, and we equate that to a string, I'm going to explain what a string is, and I'm just going to type in my name Ayo. So if you want to type in a sentence in Python, you don't do it by just typing out I am a boy. It's going to throw an error. What you need to do is that you need to put it in quotes. So let Python know that this is a string that you are trying to create. So it's going to group everything together as a sentence. So if we now say we want Python to check for the data type of this word, if we press play, it's going to show us class str, which stands for string. So that is that about a string and how to check for its data type. Now we're moving on to the next data type. Let's create a variable and name it items, and we're going to equate that to this square brackets. I'm going to explain what this is. After doing that, we're going to just type in three numbers, 1, 2, and 3. Now, what is this? What we just created is called a list. Now, a list is basically a kind of data type that can house either a string, it can house other lists, it can house a tuple. So basically, a list is another type of data type. Now, if we come here and we say print the type of items and we press play, I'm going to say that we have a class list. So that is that about having the class list. Inside here, it's not just limited to only numbers. We can also have strings too. We can have IO. We can also have integers inside. So if we press display, we can see that we also have a list. So in a list can comprise of strings, tuples, dictionaries, integers. Now I'm going to explain what tuples and dictionaries are. Now I want you to create another variable and name it dict. After doing that, I want you to equate it to this. I want you to equate it to this and create curly brackets. So inside these curly brackets, I want you to put quotes there. So just put quotes and type in name. After doing that, just press it, close the quote and put a colon. When you've done that, I want you to create another quote and you can just type in your name. My name's Ayo, and you can close the quote. If we change this here from items to dict city and we press play, we can see that the type is dict, which stands for dictionary. So a dictionary is also a type of data type that can house items. Now these items are divided into keys and key values. Here, the name that is here, this particular word name, is the key, while ayo is the value. So in dictionaries are made up of keys and key values. So if you want to access a particular value, you access it using the key. Then the next data type we're going to talk about is the tuple. So we're going to say nums is equal to 1, 2, 3. Now remember, this looks very familiar to the list that we created earlier, the list data type. But this is different. Almost the same, but it's different. If we press play, we can see we have a class tuple. Now, if you're getting overwhelmed, don't worry. This is just the introduction. In future videos, we're going to talk extensively on each of these kind of data types, how to use them, how to manipulate them, how to get the values inside them. And don't worry, we're going to get through this. So that is all for today, guys. We talked about variables, variable naming, and the kinds of data types that we have. Now, thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and come back for more. Bye.